Hey, what's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode. Episode number 87 today in Season 5 for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. This is the penultimate round of this season, so this is a very important race, and it's a very chaotic one to have as the second last round. Obviously, just like in real life, this could set up a very juicy finale. Last year, it was myself, the Jensen Button and Pierre Gasly, and this race, well, all hell broke loose. There was some safety cars, some massive crashes and moments, and I think we're probably in store for more of the same, really, because the circuit is just, built to brew that sort of thing, so much so that obviously in real life we know there are going to be some slight changes to hopefully help drivers not, have so many incidents around here, but it's a given with how close the walls are and how quick you're flying through all these corners, being the fastest ever street circuit in Formula 1. And last episode at the Australian Grand Prix, if you did miss that, by the way, be sure to go check that one out before you see this one. We're able to bring down the massive 17-point gap we had to George Russell down to just 2 points now after what was a very hectic one at Down Under at Albert Park. Ultimately, Russell really kind of, and more so the team really, McLaren, fell on their own sword in terms of being a bit too over-aggressive, not kind of accounting for the tyre wear that they were facing, and Russell had to make an extra pit stop to delegate himself outside the top 10. He was already going to be a decent amount behind us because he was making an extra stop already, of course, because we went to mediums to go as long as we could. Then the late safety car came out and kind of changed those plans, but ultimately we're always going to make one less stop than Russell, but he went on to make an even further extra stop, and in the end finished in P13. We were in third place behind Max Verstappen. Antonio Giovinazzi took his second race win of this season. I was happy to be just on the podium there, getting 15 points. That eroded that 17-point gap, but you can see there is still work to do. Also in the constructors, you would have noticed Leclerc has had a very poor run of races for pretty much the last two-thirds of this season. He was really quick in the first third, and I don't know what happened, and even despite doing training still in the activity timeline, I've now noticed he's actually down to 78 focus, so I thought he was still over 80 this entire time, so I'm actually not sure at what point he actually went under 80 focus. I think it was maybe only in the last two episodes, because I believe when we checked earlier, he was still over 80, but I guess in the last 2-3 episodes where he has had some poor races and some hard luck, I guess, as well, his focus is down. So I'm mentioning that because we are still mathematically in a fight with McLaren. I think ever since McLaren got those multiple 1-2s, those double podiums, I don't think we've actually ever brought down the gap to less than 10 points or even 15 points in the constructors from ourselves in second place at McLaren in first. So that's going to have to take a bit of a miracle. It's going to kind of have to have Leclerc being there with us, fighting for a podium, a double podium of our own, versus, beating Russell on track and obviously, therefore beating Lando quite thoroughly as well in terms of Leclerc's case. But that's just not happening, and I don't think it will be happening. But we will try our best to see what we can do. Of course, though, individually, we're just focused on trying to maximize what we can do. And we'll see what happens with Leclerc. I can't really control him, of course. I've tried to help him at times, but it's been to no use. And what you don't want when you're trying to maximize your own performance is the car failing you a little bit. We've got a DRS issue. It's actually stuck open, though, so ironically, this is actually an advantage to us because we can have the rear wing open the whole time, and with the maxed out cars, we actually have enough downforce naturally with the car, even with the front wing open, the rear wing open, sorry, to finish the lap and actually not be too bad. So this actually might be a quicker lap, maybe the quickest lap we do on Saturday at Jeddah, which is very strange. It seems to be a bit of a pattern forming because we had this sort of similar DRS stuck open issue last season at Jeddah in qualifying, and also you remember in Abu Dhabi, I think there was a DRS stuck open issue for us, and eventually got fixed midway through that finale race versus Jensen Button and Gasly. So I'm hoping that pattern doesn't crop up again next episode for the final race, but it has cropped up here at Jeddah. But right now we're watching Leclerc. I think we're safe for Q3, but Leclerc across the line He just can't do it. He's just not the same driver he was when we signed him and when he won that race at, what was it, Imola. It seems like so long ago now at the start of the year that he won that race, and he's just not the same man. I mean, Lando narrowly makes it through. He could have been knocked out, which would have been good news for us, but he's not been. Both McLarens are through, and in Q3 we know the track can evolve. Maybe both McLarens step it up, and unfortunately it'll be 2 versus 1 then. We're showing good pace. Giovinazzi, though, showing even better pace there. He was miles ahead of us on that in fastest of all in Q2, which is very peculiar indeed, even with my DRS advantage, you would say. But now let's go into that top 10 shootout. The sun is going down, the floodlights are out, and it's time for a very crucial first run to try and set this grid. I think we're going to have tough competition. Looks like the Williams cars are looking quick once again around here, as they were last season. I think, remember, Bottas went on to win it, did he not, in Season 4? So I think they should have good race pace as well. Him and Guanyu Zhou through, but also Gio, Sainz, the 2 McLarens. Let's see, across the line for us, and it's going to be provisional pole right now, though. Narrowly ahead of Carlos Sainz and George Russell. I think literally only a few thousand separate us, myself to Russell, so it's so close. But now we're getting onto the second runs, and the track is getting a lot quicker. Giovinazzi goes on provisional pole, Norris up to second, so we're displaced down to third on the second row right now into turn 1. Bit too hot, locking up on the front left, but we try and make up for it on the exit, and in the end actually make up for going a bit too deep into turn 1. It's still purple. First sector then for us. The second sector, though, we've lost a bit of time just in a straight line. Don't know what's going on here for us. We're just maybe buffeting a little bit in a straight, and then we're a little bit too early on the brakes. I felt we were way too cautious there. I don't know what went on. I just wasn't so committed. I went down to 5th gear and just hung it in 5th gear for way too long. Instead, I should have been changing up to 6th a bit more rapidly into the last corner, trying to make up for it with a late brake zone, narrowly missing the wall and doing a Verstappen on the right hand side, and ultimately going slower in the last sector, green in the second, and it means we don't improve our lap time then, and we do finish up on the second row, but it's P4 not P3 because Verstappen catapults his Mercedes up there once again with a very impressive display in a very midfield Mercedes. Don't get it twisted, you know, look at where Hamilton is consistently. Verstappen doing insanely once again in a qualifying session in Season 5, but Giovinazzi, he's the man of the moment really. I know it's myself versus Russell, but I feel like maybe you guys can agree the man of the hour really in recent races has been Giovinazzi. So many podiums, consistency out of nowhere really, and just building that momentum. He's got 2 wins now under his belt, and if it wasn't for like the 3 or 4 DNFs even he had earlier on the season, he definitely could have been actually in this fight, which is a bit of a shame for Red Bull really on their road to recovery, to returning to becoming a top team, but it's just how it goes. But we're ahead of Russell by 2 positions. He's in P6. You can see clearly the McLaren had pace with Lando Norris on the front row, so Russell maybe feeling the pressure a little bit on Saturday. I don't know, but we've out-qualified him by 2 places. That's a good first start, but now I know we have one crazy race where pretty much doesn't even really matter where you actually qualified, to be honest, because of how mad the slipstream and how mad this race is in terms of just chaos. Chaos is going to ensue, I just know it. Let's go to the grid for this second last race.
So here we are then, welcoming you today to one of the jewels of the Arab world, Jeddah. One of the biggest cities in Saudi Arabia, second only to Riyadh, gateway to Mecca, and one of the biggest ports in the region. And now, host to the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. An interesting circuit this one, the newest on the Formula 1 calendar, and like most street circuits, it's sure to present the drivers with an interesting technical challenge. Some challenging turns for the drivers to negotiate as well, and at the same time they're going to have to manage their tyres very carefully in this heat.
Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course, you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Antonio Giovinazzi put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Lando Norris lines up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, the owner-driver, Carlos Sainz,
And Russell.
Joe, Bottas, Ricciardo,
And Pierre Gasly.
Mick Schumacher,
Leclerc.
Lance Stroll,
And Hamilton.
Tsunoda, Mazepin, Callum Ilott, and Jack Aitken, Latifi, Lundgaard, Matsushita, and Esteban Ocon rounds off the grid. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Well, suddenly things have got a little bit more tense now. We're under the night sky here on Sunday at Jeddah for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. And yeah, the stakes are high. This is an important race. Crunch time, if it wasn't already, to set up the finale for not only the Drivers' Championship, but the Constructors as well. Leclerc needs to try and do something from P12 to keep our hopes alive and maybe getting McLaren right at their death to make it 4 titles in a row for the Team Championship. And for the drivers, well, we're trying to make sure we stay in this. We've done it so well. We had such a bonkers race last time out at Albert Park. One that we needed with a bit of rub of the green to get us right in there. 2 points behind Russell. We need to try and at least maintain that and not let that grow into the final race at Yas Marina, Abu Dhabi. The strategy, it's going to be interesting. It says a 1 stop from soft to medium, but we saw last season there was a lot of degradation, especially towards the end of the Grand Prix. Sometimes some of the cars having issues, some drivers having to opt for a 2-stop late on. So we'll watch how that progresses. The safety car coming out, which probably it will do, being Jeddah, will also factor into it in terms of when it comes out, the timing, if there's a free pit stop available. But first and foremost, it's all about this crucial start. We're already ahead of Russell on the grid, so can we try and get ahead of Lando Norris and strike McLaren early on in this race? Let's find out as we go to 5 red lights here. The penultimate race of this season. The Saudi Arabian Grand Prix is underway. It's a slow start for the McLaren ahead of us. A good one for the pole man. We're going to dive around the outside and commit into turn 2. It's a great racing line for us, and we managed to dance away around the outside of Lando Norris. We're up into P3, and Russell is up into P5. He was 3 wide with Bottas, and I think it was Sainz there who he pushed out. So Leclerc is actually up into P7. Oh my god, what a start for Leclerc. He listened to us from P12 to P7 in less than a sector. Leclerc has come alive at the start of this race. Have our prayers been answered? Is it game on for the rest of this race maybe with our team versus McLaren? We're going to have to see how it progresses, but that's a great cracking start for Leclerc, and it was a good one for Giovinazzi from pole position. He's in the lead, but how much longer? Because Verstappen now goes for a move. They're side by side through the first 2 turns. We enter lap number 2 of this race. Giovinazzi, though, just about hanging on in that Red Bull, and Verstappen having to slot back in for P2. But now we're joining the party. We're right there. They lost so much time fighting each other in the first 2 turns that we're well within a second. But the thing is, Norris is as well, as we try to look to block him off a little bit. He just doesn't have the overspeed quite yet. Obviously not no DRS activated quite this moment. If there was, I feel like Norris would have been flying past us there on that straight. It's so powerful, the DRS down that straight on the F1 game, as we now cross the line. Bottas being the fastest of all. Verstappen going for another attempt for the lead. And will Giovinazzi maintain the race lead once again? Yes, he will. He is just doing enough. Him and Verstappen, they went hammer and tong at Albert Park, and ultimately it was Giovinazzi who got the final laugh. It seems to be a very similar sort of very close battle between these two, the Dutchman and the Italian. We're trying to hang on, but you can see I'm actually having to lift off through sector 1 as we get hit with a wash of dirty air. So I'm just about hanging on, waiting for the right opportunity to get involved, and that may just be now as we enter the end of lap 3. Verstappen the long way round. Giovinazzi pushes him wide, and oh, there's a bit of oversteer oversteer from the Dutchman. He goes to the left-hand side. We're going to pull through with DRS, and here we go. Up to P2, up to P1. We're into the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. We swing aggressively to the inside to defend, but we've locked up on the front left really badly. Verstappen has a chance to switch back us, but it's not worked. We actually maintain the lead. Despite going so late on the brakes and deep into turn 1, we've managed to just hang on, and we're into the bloody lead of this race. Okay, so this is game on. This is what you want to see. It's no surprise, though. We've had the pace to be fighting for the race lead, fighting for race wins for pretty much the second half of this entire season, ever since those DNS. But Verstappen is coming back at us, and he's going to be a very hard man to beat. He seems so determined to try and make up for Melbourne, and he's through on the right-hand side. We're giving him such a hard fight, but he's got the acceleration. That Merc is seemingly so quick mid-apex there, and he narrowly just gave us enough room to work with on the outside. But I feel like this fight's going to continue on for the whole race, so let's not get too disheartened by Verstappen's pace right now, and you can see why, because we actually come back at him. Verstappen very slow into the left-hander for some reason, as behind us, that was a view of Norris and Russell. They're going side by side, so the two McLarens might be swapping positions as myself and Verstappen do just that. Verstappen back into the lead of this Grand Prix now. We're defending against Giovinazzi, but we are going to have DRS now on the Dutchman into turn 1 on that new lap 5. Meanwhile, Russell has indeed swapped positions. He's overtaken his teammate Norris, and he's up into P4 and may go for the Red Bull whilst we go for Verstappen. It's very fine on the left-hand side. We jockey for position. Bit of a Formula 1 chess, really trying to see who's going to blink first into the next apex. But we're up into P1 once more. But it's kind of futile because we've got 20 laps to go, and this fight's going to keep on going because every time someone gets DRS, it's basically just like a cheat code almost, especially down this straight. I mean, look how quick they are. I don't understand how they look so quick. Like, I don't know what it is, but my eyes actually have a bit of a glitch when we go down this straight, because you see the two walls on the left and right just narrow up so much, and it's like a massive tunnel effect. And you get a bit blindsided by how quick these cars are going. Even your own, as we now move on to lap 6. Verstappen again into the lead. We're just swapping back and forth. This is becoming a bit of a classic duel at Saudi Arabia between myself and Max Verstappen. Meanwhile, it's 3 wide behind us there. And Russell, just could not make P3. He went for it, though. He went down the inside to try and dive bomb and overtake 2 cars at once of Bottas and Giovinazzi. So very brave stuff there from our title rival. And you can see how much he wants it as well. Both of us, just driving at the absolute limit of what we can do today to try and maximise this result. But ultimately, he's still in P4 between Bottas and Gio. As you can guess, we once again swap positions with Max Verstappen. Bit wide, though. Into the last corner. A bit of oversteer. The tyre wear clearly kicking in a little bit on the soft compound as we had to go opposite lock and drift our way through the final corner. As we enter lap 7, it is literally nothing between myself and Verstappen. We're literally wheel to wheel there into turn 1. We were going to go for a move of the outside, but the safety car is that. Yes, the full course safety car is out, and that's because of an incident at the final corner. Is that? I think it is. But it's Callum Ilott there has been held up and caught up with, I think, Nikita Mazepin in the Alpine, and those two are at the Grand Prix, and that opens up, well, an interesting and different take on how this race may go strategically. So my engineer asked me to change strategy onto the hard compound. We've agreed to that because I see no other way to go about this now. The safety car's out at the perfect time to come in onto hard and go to the end. If you go onto mediums, you probably won't get to the end of the Grand Prix. You had to get to about lap, I would say, 10 or 11 to feel a bit more comfortable. But look at the work that's been done in the pit lane. Oh, hang on a minute. Great work by the pit crew. Both times. We've overtaken Verstappen and Leclerc under the double stack with Russell and also getting held up by the Red Bull car. Leclerc has jumped Norris. So that's perfect. That's what we want. So we're effectively back into the race lead of the top runners that just made that pit stop. We've got a lot of cars ahead of us that have not made a pit stop under the safety car, but we're effectively the race leader, if you can see. And Leclerc is now ahead of Norris, having the Brit got held up so much by his own teammate with a double stack, and then also I think Giovinazzi held him up with where the pit box is for Red Bull and McLaren. So that is amazing news for us. So right now, things are going our way under this safety car with that pit stop. So on the restart now onto lap number 9. I'm very surprised all these cars didn't even come in under the second lap under the safety car. That would have still been useful. So they're going to be really out of this entire top 5 there as we now send it down the inside and try to go for 2 for 1 with the Alfa Romeos. We only get one of them in the form of Jack Aiken, and Bottas, oh my god, it just made a sensational move. I don't know if anyone else spotted that. Bottas just dive bombed not only Verstappen but Russell as well. So Bottas now is actually the car behind us directly, and he also got Jack Aiken as well. So Bottas made 3 overtakes in 2 corners there on the restarts. We now catch up to Latifi, the other Alfa Romeo car, unable to make a move. No DRS available on this little straight here before this banked curve, so we can't quite make a move, but Russell is. Okay, Russell really on it, being so aggressive. Big dive bomb down the inside of Verstappen in the Mercedes, and he's going to go round the outside. Will he make it? Will he make it? Oh, it's so close. It's so bloody close. Russell showing how determined he is as we make a move on Latifi. And this is the position, remember, no blue flags to help us. And so he has every right to fight us as hard as he dares. And Latifi really did do so, as I was, I'm not going to lie, holding my breath a little bit as we went through that curved corner. That curved straight, because that was mighty close, a few pixels away from the wall, as we now watch on, and Russell did in fact overtake Verstappen around the outside then for that position. And like I said, I don't know why any of these cars did not come in under the safety car, but now they have, and so that means, like I said, we're the effective race leader, Bottas in second, but Verstappen and Russell continue to fight. This is becoming an absolute scrap and a half between these two. It's like these two are in their own title fight of their own, but Russell's simply trying to keep up with us and make sure that we don't walk off into the distance. Meanwhile, Norris has now just overtaken Leclerc. So after such good work from our pit crew, Leclerc just doesn't have what it takes here in the race now with that lower focus to stay ahead of Norris, and the McLaren is up into P6. That's a bit of a shame for us, but we are in the lead of this Grand Prix for now, so that's at least good news there on that front. I say for now because Bottas is one fast customer. We saw how quick he was around here in Season 4 last year, and he's now sending it down the inside. We lock up again on the front left, an issue we're having a lot of the time in Season 4 as well, as we try and go a bit too hot into Turn 1, and you come at Turn 1 so quickly with these maxed out cars that it's very difficult sometimes to slow it down, but we have just about hung on to P1. But Bottas is going to be relentless. He's going to be there with the DRS, especially down this slingshot, and here he comes round the outside, the flying fin on the right in the Williams Jaguar. He's boxed us in. Russell is there on the outside. He's come out of nowhere almost. We have to defend against him and try to make sure he doesn't overtake us, but we've had an absolute mare of a final corner. Massive tank slapper, and we're down to P3. Can we re-overtake him though? Russell, where's he going to go? Goes defensive. We go round the outside, the long way around, turns to the inside for Turn 2. We get it right, pin perfect on the racing line there. That was what we needed to get back up into second place, and now maybe try and chase back after Valtteri Bottas. You know, the fighting is going to continue. It's inevitable around Jeddah, but what you have to try and do is kind of maintain fighting whilst also not losing too much time to the car ahead of you if you want to obviously progress even further. So if you lose that 1 second, then I think, especially with the Williams car, it's game over because they're so quick in a straight line. Having said that though, we won't be too shabby ourselves in the straight line as we move on to lap 13, diving down the inside with DRS. It's going to be very fine though. The Williams puts up a really stern defense. It's so fine on the right hand side. That right tire of ours is almost careering into the floor of Bottas, and the Williams actually vibrates and oscillates a bit on the rear end as he really tried to make sure he placed his car correctly there, and actually does so very well indeed. Bottas is at the moment making a very frustrating race at the moment in P2 as we move on towards lap 15. 10 laps to go in this Grand Prix. This race really flies by, and we're going to try and fly past Bottas into Turn 1. Big lock up again. We just can't stop those, but it won't matter maybe. On the exit of Turn 2, we've actually still got enough momentum to keep it side by side. Can we go around the outside the long way round? narrowly just keep it within the white lines and somehow get back up into P1 despite the lock up into turn 1. But Bottas will continue. He's relentless with the pressure. He's almost pushing us through the final corner. We've got no ERS to deploy across the line, hardly any, and that means Russell and Verstappen are out the side of us. It's going to be 3 wide into turn 1. Double lock up from us. We narrowly back out that and just about survive the first 2 turns. We drift through the exit and try and keep the car going in a straight line. We're down to P4 now. In a flash, our race is turned on its head. We're now behind Russell and we're off the podium as Bottas now has a bit of a cleaner getaway maybe, but Verstappen is going to make sure that the race lead is still under contestment as we're going to continue to try and apply the pressure to Russell. Both our DRS is open, but Verstappen is the only one making a move, and what a move it is. Max Verstappen, what a dive that was on that banked corner. He's up into P1, Bottas P2, Russell and myself nose to tail though. This is not over. Bottas looks slow though for some reason. Can we overtake these two? Oh, Russell doesn't know where to go. We're going to go through on the right hand side. It's so close to the wall. We are inches away from getting it all so wrong, but we've got it all so right, and we're up into P2 with a great double pass on Russell and Bottas there. That could only happen at Jeddah, that kind of overtake. Clearly Russell's AI got held up a little bit in the racing line of Bottas there. We took that to our advantage and we have a brilliant last turn to get us right onto the back of Verstappen here. We could still win this Grand Prix. We've got how many laps left? 8 laps to go now as we enter a new one. Verstappen doesn't defend the inside there, so invites us through, but he's so good and hard on the defense. He's pushing us towards the left-hand side there, almost steering opposite lock to try and push us to the left-hand side, but we're going to maintain our inside line and push our way up into P1. Bit of drifting though, you would have seen on the rear end there, and that's going to upset our entire momentum through this entire section. So Verstappen's going to get a great run. We're not only a bit slow off that curb, but remember Verstappen has DRS now for this short little straight, and that Mercedes is so quick and he pounces down the inside, and in the same way he overtook Bottas, he overtakes me at the banked curve. The difference is that we switch back him. We're on the left-hand side. Can we keep our foot in on the outside? Oh, no. No, just ran out of road and ran out of grip there as the tyres were screaming out. And these hards, they may be the most durable compound available, but they are wearing out. And you're going to start seeing that fine line on the middle of the compound tyre where the tread starts to wear a bit. It's literally still, though, game on for the race win. Nose to tail with the Mercedes and the McLaren. Guan Yu Zhou now has arrived onto the scene. So 2 Williams cars with 3 wide. Oh, Russell has a bit of a wobble and a moment and doesn't go for the move and instead goes for the move at turn 2. It's 3 wide in turn 2. How's that happen? How's he done that? Russell up into P1. That's the most bonkers place I've seen for a 3 wide. Usually I could expect 3 wide to turn 1 and then you back out into turn 2, but Russell actively backed out of it turn 1 and then re-dived it to the inside of both of us at turn 2. I've never seen that ever at Jeddah, but needs must from George Russell. He's up into P1 then. We're in P2. It's game on with our title rival as we, oh my god, narrowly missed the rear end of the McLaren. What on earth was Russell doing there? He lifted off into the left-hander way too early. No AI has been lifting off that early into that corner there, so could that be a slight underhanded tactic from Russell to try and brake check us a little bit? We go round the outside but just don't have the tyre grip anymore to make a move on the outside of the last corner. It's going to be very difficult to try that later on, especially as the tyres keep on wearing out lap after lap, but with DRS onto the new lap, we're able to get into P1 again, lock up on the front left, but once again we just place our car perfectly, able to just dance it around in the right place just to block off any cars coming around the outside, and we're going to maintain the race lead. But as we go on through, I'm feeling the tyre wear more and more creeping in, and that's going to show with that little moment there. Just that little snap will actually be enough for Russell to have a good run, because now he's got the much better slingshot through this run run into the last corner, and he's ahead of us even before we get to the brake zone. But ironically, that actually may help us to re-overtake him here onto lap 22. You almost kind of want to be behind the car on the last lap of the Grand Prix, so maybe second place will be the place to be onto the last lap of this race. But we've still got a fair way to go before we think about any of that funny business on the last lap, playing games into turn 1, side by side once again with our title rival on the exit. The McLaren just has the acceleration. We're going to have to tuck in. Didn't want to overuse ERS, of course, as well on that mini straight, because we've got so much else to use ERS around the lap. So you don't want to kind of, be left with this situation. You don't want to be here in the final corner, have no ERS left to use onto that run to the start-finish lines. We go around the outside, and to my surprise, actually have some good grip there, but the McLaren is so quick with DRS. Verstappen's going to come through as well. The DRS advantage is massive there, as we don't have it, of course, as we... Oh my God! Okay, we are playing very dangerously there as we narrowly avoid George Russell's gearbox, and also we almost got half spun by Verstappen as well, coming across a little bit from right to left to get up into second place. So we're down to third now on the third last lap of this Grand Prix, but it's still game on. We're still within 1 second, so the race win is not out of the question yet. But look at this, a lovely aerial shot showing the beauty of this circuit, but Verstappen trying to go around the outside doesn't work. Russell still in this lead then. The McLaren crosses the start-finish line for 2 laps to go. Verstappen, though, into the lead. Can we use him? Can we follow Verstappen's racing line through into P2? At this stage, to be honest, remember, we don't really need the win. Obviously, the win would be lovely, but we don't need it. We just need to beat Russell to set ourselves up for the finale. We're doing that. We just followed Verstappen through. Didn't try anything too clever in terms of trying to attack him too much. And we're up into second place. Russell's third. You've got Guan Yu Zhou and Giovinazzi close behind, so Russell feeling pressure on this second last lap of the Grand Prix. So, we can stay here. This will be good enough for us. I'll be happy with this. Of course, though, we could win. We'll go for it. We're still within a second of that race lead, so we'll go for it. We'll try it, but we're going to make sure also we don't try anything too stupid in terms of a dive bomb that we don't need to do with Verstappen. Meanwhile, Hamilton and Esteban Ocon having an absolute scrap and a half in the banking, just behind Lando Norris in P10. We haven't seen too much of Norris. We haven't mentioned him, but he's actually been doing a 2-stop this race. So, breaking news here at the end of the race, Leclerc is ahead of Norris. He's in P7. He's been doing pretty okay, quietly gone about his business. And Lando, McLaren split their strategies, and the 2-stop has not worked. The hard compound has held on for longer than McLaren thought. So, Lando's gamble has not paid off. He's behind Leclerc. We're ahead of Russell. So, both of us are doing the job for the Constructors' Championship. But this right here onto the last lap of the Grand Prix, this is going to be it. The last lap, and this is crucial for not only the Constructors, but also that Drivers' Championship. Russell is through into P2. We're side by side, we're banging tyres, and it's a drag race, but we make some more contact with Russell. He just gets ahead. That McLaren is so good, I swear. Off acceleration, off slow corners, it's so quick. We're down to P3, and this is it. We've got 2/3 of one racing lap to go at Jeddah if we want to try and gain some more points on Russell into the finale. Remember, into this race, we were separated by 2 points. Russell with the advantage. If it was to finish like this, Russell will get 3 more points on us, and it would become a 5-point gap. That would mean we would have to effectively go for the win at Abu Dhabi and hope Russell's minimum, P2 obviously, or lower than that. And if we finish lower than first place in Abu Dhabi, then we would have to hope that Russell's even lower than that. So at the moment, we are pushing like a stabbed rat. Verstappen is pushing away and is going to book in this race win. But we're pushing even harder into this final home stretch, willing the car on. DRS open. This is it. The final corner. Big dive bomb round the outside. Wheel-to-wheel stuff. The tyre wear's kicked in massively. Oversteer moment. It's a drag race to the line. Russell's gaining. Oh no! Oh, what? Oh no! How did that end? How did that end? I think we maybe just got P2 on the last lap of the last corner. In the second last race, did we just get P2? Did we get a crucial 3 points on Russell? Let's see. Here's a replay. This was a monumental, a biblical dive bomb from us. The tyre wear, though, did not help us. The oversteer allowed Russell to get through. Look at this! It's a photo finish and a half, even more so than Brazil. Way more than Brazil. Brazil wasn't even a photo finish in terms of relative to this. Oh my god, but that's us in second place. We by fraction.
The Mercedes team pulled out a fantastic performance today. They should be proud. Talk to me, Ant. What was it that set them apart from the competition today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
So after a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot. A well-earned victory for Mercedes.
Well, Max Verstappen wins his second race of the season in that inferior Mercedes car. What a drive for him. We could have maybe got the win today, but to be fair to Verstappen, in the last 2 laps, he really got the hammer down and pulled away well more than a second from myself to Verstappen there. He broke the DRS, which was crucial for him. And then obviously for me, we were pushing hard after we'd been overtaken by Russell across the line on the last lap. And also you would have noticed on the bottom right of a heads-up display, we were in the puncture region, so our tyres, I'm sure Russell's were as well, all of our tyres were dead. So that's also why maybe Verstappen was able to have a cruise to the end. But my god, what an ending to Jeddah. Separated by 0.005. That is unbelievable. And those 3 points could be all the difference, because now for the first time since I think before Austria, we lead the championship once again by 1 point to George Russell, 199 to 198. But I legit think this is the first time we've been back in the lead ever since before those double DNFs. You know, those very infamous double DNFs. So that's been a massive work and a half to get back to this position. But we've set ourselves up amazingly now for the finale at Yas Marina. Myself versus George Russell. Aarava Porsche Formula 1 versus McLaren, as we're 19 points behind McLaren in the championship. It is still mathematically possible that we could win our 4th title in a row for the team championship. But it's definitely McLaren's court. It's going to be difficult. We're going to need some lady luck on our side in terms of Leclerc versus Norris, but you never know. Never say never in Formula 1, but for the Drivers' Championship, you got to say, with the way myself and Russell have been driving, it is game on. Man v man, machine v machine. I think it's going to be a sensational one, because Russell's been driving so quickly, but I'm also very happy with how we've driven this season. I think we've had some of our best races this season, and so next episode, the final one of Season 5, is going to be electric. Guys, if you have enjoyed this one, hit the like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're around here, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.